They called it the metal monster. The newspapers screamed about it. Artists wept over it. An entire city stood against one man and his impossible dream. Valentine's Day, 1887. While lovers exchanged flowers in Paris, 47 of France's greatest minds published a love letter of their own, not to a person, to their city. And it was a declaration of war. A gigantic black smokestack, they wrote, a metal asparagus. The Tower of Babel, they called it odious, hateful, a nightmare of bolted metal that would disfigure Paris forever. The man they attacked was a 54-year-old engineer named Gustave Eiffel, and his only crime was he wanted to build the tallest structure humans had ever seen. 300 meters of pure iron in the heart of the most beautiful city on Earth. What nobody understood was this: the tower wasn't just iron, but a revenge. 17 years earlier, Paris had been humiliated. Germany had crushed France in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Napoleon III surrendered at Sedan with 100,000 soldiers. The German army marched through Paris like they owned it. Then came the final insult. Inside the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, the palace built to celebrate French glory, the Germans crowned their emperor. They created Germany on French soil, in France's own throne room. France bled, lost territory, paid fortunes, endured occupation. The defeat didn't just wound France, it shattered her. This is the France that would build the Eiffel Tower, a broken nation desperate to prove she wasn't dead. That French genius still mattered. That France could still shock the world. The 1889 World's Fair gave France that chance. 100 years since the revolution. The government announced a competition. Build an iron tower, square base, 300 meters tall, make it impossible. 107 proposals arrived. Most were fantasies, but one stood apart. Eiffel wasn't like other engineers. He didn't build monuments to kings. He built bridges across rivers that swallowed lesser men. He created the skeleton inside America's Statue of Liberty. He understood something others didn't. Iron could fly. His proposal was brutal in its honesty. 4 massive legs curving inward, meeting at a point in the sky. No decoration, no apology, just math, just iron, just precision. The cultural elite exploded when he won. Guy de Maupassant, the literary giant, Charles Garnier, architect of the Paris Opera, Charles Gounod, legendary composer, Alexandre Dumas, poets, painters, sculptors, the guardians of French beauty united against the engineer. Their protest letter appeared on the front page of Le Temps. "We protest with all our strength, with all our indignation," they thundered. This useless and monstrous tower would make Paris ugly, would dishonor France, would prove that French taste had died. "Will Paris associate itself with the mercantile fancies of a machine builder?" they demanded. But here's what's beautiful. Eiffel didn't back down, didn't apologize, didn't explain. He simply asked, "Because we are engineers, does one assume beauty doesn't concern us?" Then he went to work. January 1887. The ground breaks, and immediately, disaster looms. The foundation nearest the Seine sits below the water level. Eiffel needs to dig into a riverbed without flooding everything. One mistake, and the entire tower tilts, collapses, kills everyone. He deploys pneumatic caissons, sends men into compressed air chambers under the river. Dark, suffocating, dangerous. They work in conditions that would terrify modern workers. 6 months just for the foundation. 6 months of invisible labor that could fail at any moment. Then the iron arrives. 18,000 pieces, each one designed in Eiffel's factory, numbered, precise. The pieces fit together within 1 millimeter in 1887. But assembling this puzzle means working in the sky. Winter 1888. Men climb higher. The wind screams. Their fingers go numb. One slip means death. The iron becomes an oven in summer, scorching, blinding, unbearable, and the pay is measly 5 cents an hour. When the weather stops working, they get nothing. September 1888. The workers strike. Out of 132 men, only 27 show up. They've had enough. The heights, the danger, the poverty wages. Eiffel faces collapse. His timeline crumbles. He raises wages to 20 cents, 4 times what they earned. Construction resumes, but 2 months later, another strike. Higher, more dangerous, more money demanded. Yet something miraculous happens. Despite assembling 18,000 pieces hundreds of feet above Paris, despite 2.5 million rivets, despite brutal conditions and impossible timelines, only one worker dies. One. And that death happens during a weekend visit, not during work. Eiffel had installed revolutionary safety measures, movable platforms, guardrails, screens. In an era when construction deaths were routine, when other great projects counted corpses in the dozens, Eiffel's Tower became the safest construction site in Paris. March 1889, 26 months after breaking ground. The tower stands complete. Eiffel climbs all 1,710 steps to the summit, raises the French flag. 25 guns salute. Paris watches in stunned silence. The monster is real. It dominates everything, visible from every corner, exactly as the protesters feared. The city they loved now crowned with iron. The nightmare had arrived. Then the World's Fair opens, May 15th, 1889. And Paris discovers something nobody expected. The crowds come. 12,000 people every single day. Nearly 2 million during the fair. They climb the stairs when the elevators fail. They stand on platforms nobody had ever stood on before. They see Paris from the sky. For the first time in human history, people looked down on their city from the clouds. No airplane existed yet. This was the only way. The useless monstrosity became the sensation of the century. Even Guy de Maupassant, the tower's most famous hater, surrendered. Sort of. He ate lunch in the tower's restaurant. Not because he loved it. Because, he claimed, it was the only place in Paris where he couldn't see the damn thing. But the tower's survival wasn't guaranteed. The contract gave Eiffel 20 years, then demolition. The iron would be sold for scrap, erased, forgotten. Eiffel knew this, so he made the tower essential. He built a meteorological lab at the top, installed scientific equipment, made it a hub for wireless telegraph. During World War I, the tower's radio intercepted German communications. Saved lives. The monument became a weapon. By 1909, when the 20-year deadline arrived, nobody seriously discussed destruction. The temporary tower had become permanent. The mistake had become Paris. For 40 years, it remained the world's tallest structure. It influenced every skyscraper that followed, changed what monuments could be. Before the tower, monuments were stone, solid, ancient. The tower was iron, skeletal, modern. It didn't celebrate a king. It celebrated engineering, human calculation, and ambition. And for France, the tower became healing. This broken nation, defeated and humiliated, had built something the world had never seen. Not ordered by an emperor. Built by engineers and workers. A monument to the Republic, to resilience, to refusal to quit. Today, 7 million people visit every year. It's the most photographed structure on Earth, the symbol of Paris, of France, of romance itself. The artists who condemned it would be stunned. The metal asparagus became the icon of the city they died protecting. Here's the contradiction that makes this story perfect. The tower everybody hated became the symbol everybody loves. The temporary became eternal. The disgrace became glory. Eiffel proved something those protesters never understood. Beauty isn't just what looks familiar. Sometimes beauty is what frightens us, what challenges us, what forces us to see differently. The tower taught Paris that progress looks ugly at first, that the future always terrifies the guardians of the past. That iron can be more elegant than stone if you understand its language. The tower stands because one man refused to listen when everyone said no. Because workers climbed into the sky despite poverty wages. Because France needed to prove she wasn't finished. Those 47 artists who signed that protest letter? History forgot most names. But everybody knows the tower. Sometimes outcasts become icons. Sometimes impossible becomes inevitable. Sometimes what we resist becomes what defines us. Every generation faces its impossible idea, its dangerous vision, its thing that will never work. The gatekeepers always say no. History chose iron over stone, vision over tradition, the engineer over the artists. The tower isn't just a monument. It's proof that one person's conviction outlasts culture's doubt. That today's nightmare becomes tomorrow's dream. That metal flies. Paris without the Eiffel Tower is impossible now. But 47 brilliant minds couldn't imagine it with one. Sometimes what we build despite everyone becomes what everyone remembers. The question isn't whether people oppose your vision. They will. The question is whether your vision survives. Eiffel answered in iron, 300 meters, every rivet a refusal, every beam a rebellion. The tower is revenge in beautiful form. France's answer to humiliation, the Republic's answer to monarchy, engineers' answer to artists, future's answer to the past. Stand beneath it today, look up, feel how it lifts rather than crushes, not an accident. Genius. The minds that rejected it rest in cemeteries overshadowed by its light. Newspapers that called it monstrous sell postcards bearing its image. Paris that protested cannot imagine life without it. That's victory, not forcing acceptance, becoming essential. Eiffel's tower changed what humans believed possible. Every night, 20,000 bulbs ignite across her iron skeleton. 5 minutes of pure light. The metal monster sparkles like a diamond, and 7 million people a year stand below, necks craned, mouths open, watching iron dance.